Well, good morning, everybody. This is different because it's a Thursday, not a Friday, and it is typically my day to be in the studio on a Friday at 11 o'clock. Well, it's a Thursday at 12:30, and yet I'm pretty excited about being here today. This is pretty cool.
Music.
I just did. Yeah, on the bar, right? Yeah. I got technical stuff coming in and out. It's awesome stuff, you have so many buttons. And with ADD, it's like a candy land. Boo, boo, boo. I'm popping all over the place. So we're here today on a Thursday, like I said, 12:30 instead of 11 on a Friday, but it's still Colorado. It's still great to be with you, enjoying every single minute of being in this studio when I have a chance to be here. And I'm here with two people that we're going to share the story with you about Laurel Wright and Wes Lansford, right, Wes? Lunsford with an L. I mean L-U.
So close. You were so
Yeah, I
close.
was, just many letters before gosh.
So Lansford does sound pretty awesome.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Can we change it?
Yeah, you can a few dollars later and you can get that name changed. But Lunsford is definitely something you want to hang on to, because I think there's a grand future that, well, beyond where you're already at. You've got a great future already planned out, but I just think there's some great stuff coming for you. And I'll let the audience determine it as they listen to you and the story you have to say. So as you can tell by those watching video with us here today, you can see that they have their guitars with them. They're ready to go. I'm going to preempt everybody's opinion by saying they're really good at what they do, and it's just a matter of them proving it to you. So you can take my word for it or not, but they're going to prove it to you. So they're going to sing, share some of that music that they're really good at performing for audiences throughout. Now, you guys, have you pretty much stayed in the kind of that eastern part of the country, or have you gotten out and about?
Well, before, we'll say PC, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
In the year before, we hit about every part of the continental United States.
Excellent. Well, there's one part of the country I want you to come to once we're post-COVID. See, we still do PC post-COVID.
Oh, yeah, still PC.
Yeah. So we get post-COVID. We're going to try to get these youngsters out here to Colorado and share with us some of their music live and in front of us. But Nashville-based. Are you both Tennesseans?
We're both Tennesseans.
There you go. Laurel, you're from a small town. Wes, are you from a small town too?
We're from the same town.
Yes.
Whoa, did you know that up front, or was that as a surprise when you first met?
Well, we met there before we came to Nashville.
Gotcha. That makes sense. The gig that guy missed, it was in the same town you both were raised in. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to get to those details in a minute, but I want to set some stuff up for the theme. Music has got rhythm, it's got beat, you got your genres, all these things that go into it. But in my world, music is usually known to being played when the headphones are in, the buds are on, and you're in the locker room. Or you're jumping up and down on the field, getting ready to go into a contest. Those are my athletes. The entertainers I've had over the years, it's a backstage thing, get them kind of in the zone, in the mood. I don't tend to have a lot of musicians that want to hear music before they go on. That doesn't seem to be something part of their genre to do. But the point is that rhythm and the beat that it brings is something that is soothing to the savage beast, as the saying goes. But it's also something that puts us into a place we need to be to deliver the best. And that's why the theme today is manage the beat. Because life gives us a beat. Interactions with other people gives us a beat that we have to deal with. And sometimes we don't give it that much credit that it's rhythmic and it has a flow until you go to a wonderful concert and you go, gosh, I felt like that yesterday. They were reminding me of how I felt the other day. And yet I'm asking you to hang on to that and feel the beat within you and manage that beat. So that's our theme for today. As I say that, I want to remind everybody about, boy, there's some beats going around this country that are just both interesting, entertaining, and thoughtful. I guess is the right word for it. I try not to listen to CNN too much, not because I don't like it, it's because it just fills my brain with stuff that makes it hurt and ache. So I want you to be aware of that, feel the beat of that, adapt and adjust that beat as you need to bring your best to every day. On our Mondays, we have a mindset moment we bring out every Monday on our social media. And this week it was about Ben Franklin and his wisdom back in the day. It always seems to come forward, those older statespeople that shared with us in the growth of our country. And one of the things that Ben Franklin said was that, staying in the moment you're in is wonderful, but without the thought of future outcomes, you've lost your moment for today. So I want to make sure that we move forward with the show today with that in mind. So here is Laurel Wright and Wes Lunsford, and welcome us to the show. They are part of the Young Fables or Fable?
Plural.
Plural. Excellent. Young Fables. Excellent. So Google them as we do. Get on the internet and check in on their website. As I said it, theyoungfables.com, the whole thing connected, no spaces. I'm gonna open up with questions before we get to the music, even though I'm extremely excited about the music. But you guys, and Laurel, I'll start with you. What is it about your journey that tends to be kind of that revolving beat that always comes up that reminds you, yeah, that's why I'm here. Oh yeah, this is why I'm doing this. Because you've been doing it since you were 3, girl. That is just amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if I was any good at 3, but yes. I started singing. I don't remember this, but I remember this story being told a lot of my parents just kind of throwing me up on stage by myself at this Baptist church that I grew up in. And, I can't even remember myself ever being nervous for something like that, like even older, when I was older and I could remember things like that. And then when I was 10 years old, I picked up a guitar and I wrote my first song. My great-grandfather died, and so that's kind of, for me, when it all began, because I didn't really know how to, I didn't have an outlet for myself until I realized that, when I was 10, I experienced loss of some kind of my great-grandfather. So when I wrote my first song about him passing away, it made me feel better. And I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, it does. I don't know if you did this on purpose or not, but what you just said makes me connect to the title of your group, the Young Fables. You're young. You started young, writing a song at 10. It was about a grandfather. Kind of fabulist.
We can get into, how we came up with our name a little later.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that. After the first piece of music you share with, I'd love to have that be the segue. That would be awesome. So, Wes, what's the kind of the story that creates a beat for you, and why you're hanging in music and doing the things you do? Because it's not an easy business to be in.
It is not. And I feel like it's something sort of like Laurel, where it's like there was something inside where it doesn't matter, how much money or whatever. It's just something I have to do. And I remember getting a tiny red toy guitar when I was real little.
Is that the crank one, or the one with the vinyl strings? Which?
Yes, it was the vinyl strings. And that thing, like me and my brother, we would play the Beatles, and I would be John Lennon, and he would be everybody else, and he would be the audience and everything else. And then eventually my mom bought me my first real guitar, and I just became obsessed. It was like the only thing that I cared about when I was a little kid.
Now, Wes, did they make lefty guitars back then?
No, she actually bought me a right-handed guitar because we didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And so I was playing it for about a year upside down, just messing around with it. And my brother comes into my room and he's like, that big string's supposed to be on the other side.
So did you redefine treble and bass clef in your own mind?
Well, I didn't even know anything. I was just like picking out little songs and playing little riffs, and so that was it. I didn't really even understand any of it.
I'm gonna start calling you Bottom Up. That just seems to fit. And so everybody knows, I've seen these two in playing in a honky tonk. Well, that's what I call it. You guys might call it something else. But the Row in Nashville. So I've watched Wes play his guitar, and and love what he does with the guitar, left or right hand, doesn't matter to me. But it just seems to fit now that I'm getting to know you a little bit better, that bottom up that just seems to kind of connect with me. So if I yell at you, that you'll know I'm calling for you if I say that out loud. So Laurel, what would you say to a young artist in their late mid-teens, if they're a singer, maybe a singer-songwriter as well, about the first thing you would advise them to do in progressing their career forward?
I would say stay true to yourself. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but it's true. I feel like the music industry, along with other things, are just constantly changing, and what is on the radio or what is cool or what is popular is constantly changing. And I feel like you should stay true to like what you want to do and who you are as an artist. And I think that's what's going to get someone far.
Well, that seems to resonate with the Rebas of the world too, because that's kind of a message they tend to say, and they've done pretty well with it. They've lasted pretty long being, and it sounds like you're also saying genuine, with a high sense of integrity. But when I say the word integrity, especially knowing a little bit about your story, is that can be very challenging to hold on to that integrity day after day with the pressures that the industry itself puts on you, or the hostess or the waitress staff that you're working at. You go, hold on, I gotta leave. Can you cover my shift? I've got to go do something I really, really want to do. It just seems that holding on to that integrity. Were you challenged in any way by that over the years with staying true to your path?
Yeah. I mean, I still get challenged from time to time. I mean, especially in certain situations, if you're on like a TV show or you're in a singing competition or any kind of competition where it's like you want to win and you want to be the best. And so with that comes with, oh, you should do this song. People telling you should sing this song. And you kind of, or for me, I kind of have to think about, okay, is this what I do? Does this represent me in the best way? And if not, sometimes you have to say no, because, I mean, I do. I've said no to many things in my life and in my career that if it doesn't represent me well, then I probably am not going to do it.
Well, let's give an echo to that, because Kelly Clarkson echoes what you just said in her experience when she reflects back on American Idol, like what you did. And she said one of the biggest things she was challenged with was that they kept telling her to do things that she's going, you want me to what? Do what? You want me to sing what? And yet persevering through it to a certain degree, and then being challenged because she went off on her own interpretation of the song, kind of twisted it a little bit, but I guess she was right, one would say, looking back on the successes she's had.
I think so.
So you got some good company in that philosophy. Wes, as a musician, many times, not that this is purposeful, but we get lost behind the talent. And there's this studio thing you can do, and there's a lot of different avenues you can take. But what would you say to a musician? The same kind of question I asked Laurel about what would be the thing to sustain them and keep them going forward.
Well, I think you have to have the love for it first of all, the passion. But also, sort of the thing that I've always lived by is that say yes and figure it out later. Where it's like, I remember there's so many times I've been called to play a song, like a gig or in a studio or whatever, and I don't know what it is. I don't know how to do it. But I'll say yes and then figure it out. And just take every opportunity you can and find the good things. So if you don't like a certain kind of music, if somebody calls you to play it, fine. There's something to like about it. I just think there's, and it's like success is whatever you make it. If you want to be, if all you care about is being like a superstar, then that's a very slim chance, But if you just want to make a good living playing music, easily done.
And a some chance of you being happy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I like the fact that you mentioned the different genres of music, especially for an instrumentalist, somebody who's not necessarily, maybe a songwriter, but not a singer that would bring up to the top, because you have the different paths. So saying yes within your wheelhouse, what you do best. I tell my athletes, I say, stay in the now, stay in the moment, and produce the skills that you do best, excellent every single time, and then adjust with the things you need to learn.
That's a great point, where it's like, always be on your A game, and that's another thing. I should have said that, really. Where
Yeah,
it's like,
it shouldn't matter if there's, someone asked me this question the other day. They're like, what happens when you're playing a show and there's one person in the crowd? I'm like, Wes taught me this. It's like, it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 people there or 2 people there. You need to do the same thing with the same intent every show.
Yeah.
because you never know it's not that person might be like a big wig or anything like that, but you don't know what they need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And also what maybe you need to hear. There's some of the best musical experiences I've ever had have been to like crowds of 3 or 4,
Mm-hmm.
but the song just like resonated for some reason.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know what? That is the best segue I could come up with for going into music. So, without further ado, the first of 2 presentations by the Young Fables, Laurel Wright and Wes Lunsford, is right here on KUHSdenver.com. We are streaming to you.
So, I'll kind of give you a backstory behind this song. I'm a little echoey now. Is that okay? It'll be better once we sing. You guys will understand why it's okay. So we have a new record coming out, and we're really excited about it. And we wrote, when we were writing songs for this album, I lost my dad and my sister back in 2018, and I wrote songs for both of them for this record with Wes. And instead of writing a song about like me missing my dad and me wishing that he was here with me, I simply just wanted to write a song that made me happy. And so I feel like hearing my dad's voice and knowing that he's with me makes me happy. So I really wanted to write a song from his perspective. And so this is kind of what we came up with. And I think if I could hear what my dad was saying to me right now, it'd probably be something like this.
Say goodbye. My leaving kinda came as a surprise. I didn't wanna go, but the choice it wasn't mine. There's so much we never did, so many words I left unsaid, things that Daddy wants to tell his kid. I'll be that angel on his shoulder, the whisper in your ear, lay beside you when the nights get colder. I'll catch you when you stumble, I'm holding every tear. As with you then, I'm with you now as you get older. Look around, you'll see the signs. Baby, I've been here the whole time. I see you and your mom on the front porch swinging. I always love to hear you sing. When you don't feel like singing, would you sing to me? I'll be that angel on your shoulder, the whisper in your ear, lay beside you when the nights get colder. I'll catch you when you stumble, I'm holding every tear. As with you then, I'm with you now as you get older. Look around, you'll see the signs. Baby, I've been here the whole time. Girl, be brave, go do it all. Don't be afraid, I won't let you fall. I'll be that angel on your shoulder, the whisper in your ear, lay beside you when the nights get colder. can see the signs. Baby, I've been here the whole time. Baby, I've been here the whole time.
The word marinate seems to come to mind right now. Just let it sit and cherish the lyrics and the rhythms that you brought for a beat that it's got to touch a lot of people, especially after the year that we've faced with losses in family and friends. But I get it, girl. I get what you did. It wasn't about loss. It was about revelry and cherishing and honoring. And that comes through clear. So thank you so much for that. That was the Young Fables with Laurel Wright and Wes Lunsford here on KUHSdenver.com. Streaming to you some good stuff today on a Thursday in Colorado. I'm loving this. I looked at the bio and I saw the quotes from people in the industry, and sometimes you look at those. You guys have looked at other people's bios and what people have said about him. You go, really? What? Really? But I know some of the people that made quotes for you, and one of them, a couple stuck out for me was think country, that you are genuine in that country vibe, in that genuineness and honesty and what family and where it comes from. But then there's this quote, which you know who it came from. Had me immediately, Keith Urban. And, you know, the song that you just sang, if Keith Urban were to hear that, and his family were to hear that, that would resonate with him based on what he's gone through in his life. And there's others throughout, not just the industry, but just throughout life in general. So I'm hoping that one really hits a chord with people on the iTunes scene, and they see it for what it is. And I'm hoping I'm helping move it forward as much as we can. So thank you so much for that.
Of course, thank you so much.
So guys, you know, Laurel, you have shared on the internet and social media about your I hate to use the word struggle and battle and all those kind of crazy words, but you deal with it really well. And I have my own demons. Everybody does. I deal with people routinely that are faced with anxiety, depression, some of it clinical, some of it not. So I have my network of folks that I'll put into play to help that. So I have more than just a casual battle, wrestling match with mental health, both in and out of myself. What does that sound like? Woo!
You sound like me.
Yeah, I'm out there.
I don't know if that's a good thing either.
Yeah. There's a really great cartoon-based movie called Squirrel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But Laurel, I like the fact that you have resolved yourself to a strategy for yourself. Running is part of that strategy. Music, obviously, is part of that strategy. But it also sounds like, and you can help me with this, it sounds like that the interaction with people at the right time is also a strategy for that. So what is it that triggers you to go know that you need to go find someone, to be with them, to help you, not directly, but indirectly, just by their presence, help you manage that state of anxiety, frustration, whatever adjective we want to use to define depression, because it's different for everybody.
Well, the answer is I don't know. I feel like I don't know how I make these connections with people. It's just something that I've always done. There's really no answer for it. But going back to what you said earlier, that I handle it really well. I don't I don't handle it really well. I try to be as transparent as I can be, especially like on social media with people. Like, I really don't have any secrets. I have nothing to hide. I'm pretty much an open book when it comes to that kind of stuff. I think you probably, and other people probably think I handle it well, quote unquote, is because I do what's best for me. Like, I feel like, you know, since I've gone through like the grief and depression and anxiety, it's something that I didn't really deal with before I lost my sister and my dad. But when I started dealing with it, you know, people will tell me there's a timeline on grief, or there's time limits, or, you know, I think I made a post on social media about that yesterday, actually, talking about, you know, there's not a right way to deal with anything for everybody. Yeah. I feel like you need to do what's best for you. I do what's best for me. And for example, me and Wes are very different. Like, when I deal with something, I'm going through something, I want to be left alone. I want to be by myself, and I don't want to do anything. I hope I'm not speaking too much for you, but when you go through something, it's like you want to be doing stuff. Like you need that distraction. That just goes to show, like.
Yeah, I like to. I work.
Yeah, you work, and I don't, and so and sometimes I feel guilty because Wes works when he's going through something, and I don't. But over time, I realized that like I need to do what's best for me. So I just learned to be a little bit more selfish when it comes to mental health, and I think that that's okay.
Well, you guys, you must have seen my script for the show because the segues just keep falling here. So Wes, I'm going to ask you, as Laurel has already started to ask you about how you handle it, but I'm going to ask you a different way because it relates to music. We know there are certain measures, certain riffs, certain downbeats that we know we get to come in. And some would say, well, that's just a count. You just count it out. Count out the measures, the bars, and blah, blah, blah. Well, no, there's a feel. There's a feel. Yeah. There's a connection. So when it relates to those states of mind, what is it that you see or feel that you know that even though Laurel's transparent, as she says, you probably know when it's coming on. You probably have some kind of a signal that you get. And I want you to share this about not just Laurel, but about just your musicality and your ability to understand the feeling so that people that are listening can say, yeah, I get that feeling too. What are some of the things that trigger you to know that I need to help or I need to back off? I've got people in my family I need to back off when I see the trigger.
So before you answer the question, I don't want you to just for other people's sake and just so other people know that I don't want you to sugarcoat this. So you should be very honest.
Well, the truth is I don't really know a lot of times. Like I've sort of learned sort of different ways to, and because like Laurel in general is a very outgoing people person, and I am not that way, and so at first I sort of approached it as I would like to be approached, right? Where it's more like I'm not gonna cry. I'm gonna stand my ground, not stand my ground, but be the rock.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. You're the gatekeeper.
And and just be like, okay, I'm gonna be this strong pillar, so that she can be, look to and see. Okay, well here's a place I can land, right? But that's not necessarily what is needed all the time. Sometimes you need someone who's gonna cry with you, or be down in the gutter with you, And so through the years, I felt like I've gotten better at it. It's never, perfectly in tune, but I know when she needs her space, and just to back off and understand that that's how it needs to be. I don't need to be up in approach and let's talk about it. But also sometimes you do need to be that.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of no one's ever going to be perfect at dealing with someone else's emotions because it's not the same every single time.
Right.
I'm
and
glad
everybody they want everybody to be the same, so they sort of approach everybody like they would want to be. I mean, we learn that. Treat people like you want to be treated. But sometimes you need to treat them how they want to be treated.
Also, speaking of different every time, something that I hate, this might be random, but I hate the 7-step grief process.
Yeah.
I see that on the internet all the time, or dealing, when I first was going, my first experience with depression, I would do a lot of Googling, and I saw that so many times, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this is going to happen first, and then this is going to happen, and then in 12 months, I'm going to be good to go. And it's been almost 3 years, and I go through those emotions not in order. They happen all the time. So that's something that I don't like.
Well, and you guys you're touching on some of the things that in my doctor's hat, when I talk about it more the clinical side of things and the therapeutic side of things, is that you're identifying the awareness that you have to have for the person and not you when you're trying to offer support. That was one of his remarks. And Laurel, what you're saying is that, and I disagree with the statement you made earlier about what people have said to you, but that grief will go away. No, it doesn't, because it's triggered by certain events that might come up at random, and you never know when you're going to see an image or hear somebody say something or a smell that reminds you of dad or sister or life and whatever, and all of a sudden you're just plummeting back into that space.
Oh, we were on tour a couple of years ago. I don't remember where we were. Maybe in Texas or something. We were in a grocery store, and it was I don't know, close to Halloween or something, and I love those Reese's pumpkins, and you know, I love those because my dad loved those, but it didn't hit me until I was like, oh my God, Wes is like, let's get a Reese's pumpkin, checkout line, whatever, walking up to the car, we're ripping them open, eating them, I'm bawling, and Wes is just looking at me like, I'm sorry.
Are they that good? Laurel, are they that good?
Like, and those are the things, it's like, a freaking Reese's, like, made me have a meltdown.
Well, the one thing I like what you're saying, Laurel, for people to hear is that you are embracing it. Many people get those reactions later on in life when they thought they were supposed to be done, and they feel guilty that they're going backwards, like they're ill again. And I'm saying, no, embrace it. Hold on to it.
I think I do feel guilty from time to time still, but sometimes I have to like shake myself a little bit and just be like, you are human, and you've gone through a lot. You know?
I'm going to ask you to think about it this way. Think about those reactions on those triggers as honoring those who have passed. They've come back to you. That's the best positive way. And it doesn't excuse you, but it takes away the negativism of that trigger. And it's truly, in some way, shape, or form, depending on your level of mystics, they are coming back to you in some way. And in this case, the pumpkins. In other case, it could be a color, or you know, one day I had somebody say to me, well, I saw a blue jay on an evergreen tree, and I immediately thought of my dad. I went, oh, okay, your dad was a big, tough-ass guy. What the hell does a blue jay and an evergreen have to do with that? And I didn't discount it. I just said, I don't understand. Please share. Help me figure it out. But it reinforces, again, stay with it, embrace it, and deal with it. And recently I love the fact that running physicality is a part of your way of dealing and managing, both not just with the depression, but just in general. And more people need to find those kinds of physicality, using your five senses as a guide towards managing what life throws at you. So
when you're saying, were you talking about fitness and stuff?
Yeah.
I am not. Just so everyone knows, I do not claim or think that I am some kind of fitness model that's like on Instagram. Like
not judging your running, not judging your running at all.
I just want you guys to know that like I don't consider myself that.
Now, Wes will be posting a video of you running tomorrow, but that's just a whole nother thing.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's your way of dealing. We're making no judgments, Laurel. I just like the fact that physicality.
Okay, I just want everyone to know. I don't think I'm a fitness model. Just letting y'all know.
There's a jingle in there somewhere. I know there's a jingle in there somewhere for Nike or somebody. All right, let's come back a moment to the industry itself and talk a little bit about, and I'll start with Wes, because as a musician, you have a lot more slices that you can take advantage of than if you're just a pure singer-songwriter. Or like, as you said, I want to be a star. Well, that's a pretty narrow window, just be a star. So what's your thought on the industry today, hopefully post-COVID, and the opportunities that are out there for musicians, regardless of genre? But speak about country if you want. But what's out there? Are we optimistic? Are we waiting? What are we doing?
I'm always optimistic, and I think that it's probably even with you take COVID out of the equation, the music industry is the Wild West right now, and has been for probably 5 years or more. You know, nobody knows how to make money. The record labels don't know how to make. Nobody does. And so it's just like, and in doing that, it sort of has a freedom within it, where it's like anyone who wants to record a song can do it in their house and release it on Spotify right next to Taylor Swift or anybody else. You know, now getting found, you know, having people listen to that song is a different story, but it is possible. And there are so many opportunities that people don't take because they see the music business as just one single path, where it's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get seen by this person, I'm going to get signed to this label, I'm going to be selling out arenas, right? But no, my personal career, which hopefully I'm not in a retrospective of it, I hope it still goes forward.
Yeah.
But
he's ending his career today. No.
Exactly. Well, farewell.
It's a farewell appearance by.
Years and years, I went to China to play for half a year, playing R&B and jazz. And while I was over there, I started listening to country music, which is funny because I'm from Tennessee. But I fell in love with it and came back and was playing with a small record label and everything. Met Laurel, we started playing country music. And it just, it's just been all over the place.
Well, Laurel, I'm going to ask you the same question, but I'm going to ask you to add this twist to it. As a writer, a singer-songwriter, because there are these little writer rounds thing going on as an entertainment focus. We might be doing some of that in August to draw the attention of the crowd in. But is the opportunity for a writer better, or just as it typically has been, or is it something that's getting some growth to it? Because I know that Taylor Swift, for example, made a remark a few weeks back before one of the last award shows, and she said, "I've been writing more than I ever had, and I'm getting more validity for that with my fellow artists, and singing less." And I'm going, what? You got to be kidding me. So what are your thoughts on the industry as it relates to writer, singer, songwriters, an opportunity for them?
I think 5-10 years ago, it's different than it is now, and I'm not like an expert on the industry. Just living in Nashville and just being here, I can kind of see, like, I know a lot of people that just want to be writers and don't want to be performers, and that's fine, but I feel like, this day and age, you kind of, like, people are looking for people that can do it all.
And most of your favorite performers are writers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
like Taylor Swift saying that, she's writing more and, but she's already kind of established. So if you want to, be known and like make in whatever way, in whatever path you go, I feel like you need to be able to sing and write.
Well, and that girl's a triple threat. I mean, she's a musician too. I mean, goodness gracious. I heard her play the banjo the other day, and I went, where the hell did that come from? And
I saw a interview with Leo Fender one time, and he's talking about, it's guitar heroes that sell guitars, and it was the Eddie Van Halens and people like that. And he said the person who sells most guitars for young people today is Taylor Swift.
oh my gosh.
Because they see her.
That was me.
Yeah, exactly.
So let me give you an example with you, Laurel, about how the process would work to promote within what you guys just said. You wrote a song recently, and another artist performed that song. A female singer recently. Didn't she come out with it recently, the song, or did you guys record it? Something either I saw it on your website or something that you maybe on social media. Or was it your song or her song? Well,
What was it like in our Instagram story?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's our friend. Yeah. She is a singer-songwriter just like us, and she was just at the Row, or at this place where we met you, and she was singing a song that we wrote. So yeah, that's like, I don't know, it feels really good to like have somebody sing, have another writer sing your song at their show.
So here's an example of today's marketing process and moving it forward, where you're on the KUHS Denver, streaming it out to an audience. You mention her name, your song, now you're promoting two pieces. And it's like, you guys aren't old enough to remember this, but Revlon used to have a commercial on TV that with a person washing their hair with the Revlon shampoo, and they would produce her picture over and over and over again, and they just said the phrase, and so on and so on and so on and so, like every day you wash your hair with Revlon, and so on and so on, and that sticks in my head about making these connections and intersecting with people. So Wes, this is how we get people paid for what they do, because the network of friends that they know all agree. If I'm going to play Laurel's song, I'm going to say, this song was written by Laurel Wright, and she's going to be at such and such and such and such. So we got to remember to tell Patrick he's got to tell everybody where everybody's at.
Right.
So he can constantly promote. All right, I digress. ADD. Okay.
It's okay, same.
Yeah, I'm out here. All right, so the next question I have before we go into the next song from you guys is about kind of life, and not so much about the music industry, but life gives us all kinds of twists and turns. So, Wes, what was one life twist or turn for you that really unexpectedly bumped you up to the next level of where you wanted to be?
Wow. Oh, okay. I'll go back to the first major one. And I feel like, so right out of high school, I was in a band, and I wanted to take that band as far as I could, and it sort of fell apart. And I went to college for a year, and I hated it, and just like absolutely hated it. And so I was gonna drop out of college and just try and do something with music. And a buddy of mine called me, and he's like, "Hey man, why don't you come and try out for this music program and see if what can it hurt?" And I went and tried out, and I remember sitting there with the guitar guy, and he said, "Well, you're not very good." And I really shouldn't let you in the program, but he's like, "I've seen sort of your grades and how you work and your ethic, and I think you can get it." And so that was like, he gave me that shot that he wouldn't have gave me otherwise, and that like helped me so much, and saw that, oh well, maybe it's not all about talent, it's more about hard work.
Well, sometimes the most motivating components for any performer in anything is telling them no.
Yeah.
You can't do this. I'm going to be in your way, and you got to get past me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, good. Look out, here I come. So, Laurel, what was a moment in time that bounced you to the next level that was memorable for you?
I would say just, I met Wes and I are both from East Tennessee, a town called Maryville.
Yep.
And Wes was my guitar player in my band. Like, I had just like a little band we play around town or whatever. And we weren't like a duo or anything. He was simply just the guitar player. And so when I moved to Nashville, and I was living here now, and Wes, before I moved, he said, "I would like to be a part of whatever I can be in Nashville." And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not going to make any money. I know I'm not going to get paid. I don't have no job. Like, there's no way I can like give anything to you that makes it worth your while. But he still stayed. So for a year, we played together while I was living in Nashville. He would drive back and forth to East Tennessee all the time, and just to come here to play with me. And so I think that, I don't know if this answers your question, but I think about that a lot, and how, I would be in Nashville playing sometimes by myself, but then sometimes with Wes, and it was so much better with Wes. Like, I brought so much more value to whatever show I was playing simply by just having Wes beside me. So that was probably a big moment in my life, because I never pictured myself being in a duo. I always just thought, oh, I'll just always be Laurel Wright, solo artist. But that was the big one for me.
Laurel, you did answer the question, and here's where it resonates for me, is that you honored the commitments, you listened to someone and took them at their word. Wes said, I want to be part of what you did, and his actions proved that he was going to do that by driving back and forth. Those are messages and points of interest for people to hear and kind of think it through, because I believe the youth that's coming up behind you and me are not necessarily getting enough examples about that level of integrity and about that level of sticking with something when it truly represents who you are. Too many of them are being moved and manipulated by how disposable their thumbs are and how much their friends are saying to them in a text, a tweet, or TikTok, TacTic. I don't know what the hell that is, but you know what I'm talking about.
Tic-tac?
Yeah, that thing. A Tic Tac. It's a mint. You put it in your mouth and you play with it on your phone. But I want to segue from those remarks that you guys made about those moments and ask you a question based on a comment that Shania Twain made about your guys' music. And she said it was real country. What does that mean? What does real country mean for you guys?
Man, that's a tricky question, because country, especially, like, I come from country later, and I feel like I have an interesting perspective because I wasn't exposed to it on the radio. And so I got to sort of pick and choose what I liked with country. And to me, I always think about one of the first times. So my mom is from Nashville, and so we would come to Nashville all the time to visit my grandma and everything like that. But the first time I was like old enough to go into a bar and see a band, I go into this bar and I see this band, and they're talking about, they say this one thing over and over again, and it sort of hits me, and it's not necessarily like a good thing to say, but he's like, this is adult music. And I'm like, what is he talking about, you know? And I think about it, and I think about like, oh, well, it's these real stories.
Yeah.
You know, it's these things that happen in real life. And that's what makes country to me. It's like not necessarily like sugarcoating it, not always turning out to be a happy ending, not always being something that's uplifting.
Just being real.
It's being real. And I don't care if it has a pedal steel or a mandolin or a banjo or a distorted guitar or whatever. That's what makes something country, like real country.
What would you add to that, Laurel?
I was going to say, if you're going to ask me the same question, it's probably because we hang out too much, but I would literally say the same exact thing. I feel like a lot of people, you know, if you listen to songs on the radio and you're like, you know, I miss the old country, that's not real country.
Yeah, right.
I mean, yeah, maybe, but it's like, if it hits you, if it resonates with you, if it's real, and it's played on country radio, just, I don't know. Like, why does everything have to be put into boxes?
When I asked this question, it was for two intents. One, to get your flavor on it, but also based on something Wes said earlier about his journey through music up to this point. You know, rock and roll, jazz, different genres you've played on your guitar. And that's what musicians do. That's what studio musicians need to be prepared to do if they're quality studio musicians, right? But there's also something happening in every genre of music, and country's not limited. They're adding different licks into the country riff. You know, they're adding the 3 beats from, you know, Hispanic music stuff. They're adding little jazz hooks in there. Or they're literally combining 2 different genre songs into making one song. Now, I tend to say that came from hip hop, because hip hop's been doing it for a long time. But I'm wondering if, with the two of you and your skill set and your relationship, if you've ever thought about that. And that's my last question before you get to sing again.
I think, and like you were saying, it comes from hip hop. I always thought, like, if you dig into a lot of jazz is the same way, where it steals from everything.
Yeah.
And it like takes Indian music, it takes world music, it takes classical music, it takes everything. And if you listen to country in particular, a lot of people, they're like, well, it's not even country anymore, it's like pop or whatever. But that's sort of the tradition of country. If you listen to, like, one of my all-time favorites is Glen Campbell. And so if you listen to like Glen Campbell, even Patsy Cline, all these people, where it became, they're taking pop sounds of the day and they're making it in the country. They called it like countrypolitan back in the day, but you hear these strings and orchestras and stuff like that. You might not call it, that's not what Hank did, but it's still country. I mean, we're just stealing from everywhere. I think eventually it's all just a mishmash of what you think sounds good.
Well, from those who came before you, Ernest Tubbs and everybody after, give us your next piece. Yeah, give us your next piece of music for our audience, and then we'll close the show out with a couple more questions. Once again, Laurel Wright and Wes Lunsford from the Young Fables.
So speaking of going through hard times and just kind of having some kind of hope, we wrote this song with Dean Fields and our friend Mindy Smith, and we wrote it actually a few years ago, but I didn't realize how much that I would need this song. So we were picking songs for our new record. We came across this one, and if you guys are going through a hard time, I hope that this gives you a little bit of hope like it does for me.
Don't look down, look straight ahead. Trouble gives you trouble and a crick in the neck. Redemption is a promise if it ain't found yet. It's not a question of whether, it's a question of when. Everybody's bleeding, everybody's hurting. searching. If love is what you're looking for, there's plenty in the house of the Lord. Water rising higher on the tip of your toes, grasping at the thread, don't even notice the road. Forgotten and forsaken, but you got it wrong. Child, you're only waiting, it's only for the taking. Everybody's bleeding, everybody's hurting. Every limb is lost, every soul is searching. If love is what you're looking for, there's plenty in the house of the Lord. You don't even have to knock on the door. Come on into the house of the Lord. Everybody's bleeding, everybody's hurting. Every limb is lost, every soul is searching. If love is what you're looking for, joy is what you're looking for, peace is what you're looking for, there's plenty in the house of the Lord. The house of the Lord. If love is what you're looking for. If love is what you're looking for, joy is what you're looking for, peace is what you're looking for, there's plenty in the house of the Lord.
Well, Wes, I think you made a statement about playing the guitars that somebody needs to step up on. That whoever that guy was, he motivated you pretty well. Nicely done there, son. That's nicely done. Congratulations on that. Those are two good licks to go on an album. I'm liking that. And before we leave, make sure that we say something about the album, when it's going to be released, and the name, and where it's going to be pushed out for you guys. But my last question before we get to all those commercial things we got to do, because it's important to do. Let me ask you this question about it's related to the future, and not necessarily about music, but just the future and what you're looking at for yourself and what you kind of want to leave people with today as their takeaway about you, about the young fables, about just life in general. What is it that you want to make sure that people take away from today as it relates to your participation? Laurel, you go first.
Oh Lord, I would say I just keep thinking about like the stay true to yourself statement that I said earlier, and I think like we've been talking a lot about mental health and like just doing what's best for you and your career and whatever you're doing. I just think that and I need to do this more, but just listen to yourself more.
Yeah.
I know that sounds kind of like hippie and cliche, but like I really do. I just think if you listen to yourself more than you listen to other people and what they think is best or right for your life, then I feel like that's going to make you happier and make you go further in whatever you're doing.
That resonates, and Laurel, I'm sitting in Colorado, so it really resonates from people here in Colorado.
Speaking of Colorado, we're going to be there. Did we already mention
did not
this?
say.
No,
we're going to be there later this year, and oh my Lord.
It's okay, take a breath. You're good.
Am I drunk?
You're good.
Pretty sure I am.
I'm at altitude, Laurel. I'm the one that's at altitude, not you.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm hammered. All of our dates are on our website with the details. So I don't really know the details, and I don't know when, but I know it's on our website, and I will let you know.
If you come out in Denver when it's the MLB All-Star Game Week, that will be way too coincidental, because I've got my baseball player clients will be in town.
Okay, I'm going to send you the dates.
Yeah, that week. If that happens, that will be so great. Wes, what do you think?
Well, if anybody ever asks me if I have any words of wisdom, I usually say you should probably look elsewhere. But I always think of what we sort of talked about before, that it doesn't matter, like talent doesn't matter. It's hard work. Like if you have no talent at all, you may have to put in a little more effort, but you can still get to there, wherever you want to be in whatever field or whatever you want to do. And a lot of times, those are the people who stand out. You know, so hard work always trumps talent. That's what I think.
And I have to echo that across anything you do, whether it's athletics, industry, music, whatever it is. I have yet to see hard work not win out over talent. It's just a staple. And you know what? I'm gonna encourage the two of you to listen, and I'll even give you the tape, and so you listen to it over and over again. You have so much going for you, and yet what's really interesting to me is how humble you are in recognizing how you're not quite there yet. that you're constantly saying, I don't know if I'm that good. I think I could probably be better. I mean, the first time I said anything to you, Laurel, was in the row, and I said, girl, your voice is an instrument to behold. And you just kind of looked at me like, well, thank you, but okay. I'm going, no, I'm serious. I've got a little bit of experience listening with my ears about stuff that sounds good. So I want to leave that with the two of you about echoing what you said to our audience, but also feel it and believe it for yourself on a daily basis, and make it perhaps even a mantra. The mantra I give to my athletes, that they can make up their own, but the one I give them, I ask them to repeat, is it's all about me. Not in a selfish way, but in a self-aware way, so that you are conscious of how good you are and what that brings to other people's lives. So it's all about you, kids. It's all about you. Right here at KUHSdenver.com. Now here comes the blatant commercial stuff. We're streaming every week, every day, across the world now. I'm proud to be part of this great organization. It's family. It's community. We're not big in numbers. We're just big in the power of messaging and offering support to those who need it. Like people like Wes Lunsford and Laurel Wright, I'm so glad and so grateful that you were able to be here with me today. I hope you have the same feeling. And I, as I predicted earlier, but off air, we've got more to do together. I see it coming. And as I say that, in the special presentation today, of Thursday, we're streaming here at KUHS. We're going to be reproducing this tomorrow at my normal time, 11 o'clock. So you get to see, for those of you who missed it, spread the word to friends. You can see Laurel and Wes tomorrow, the mainstays of the Young Fables, and youngfables.com. Take a look at it. You can catch their schedules there. What's the next date for you guys? Where will you be the next time on tour or a bar, wherever you might be?
We'll be tomorrow in Nashville, tomorrow night at the Sutler.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Cool. What time?
I think 7?
7 p.m. Central Daylight Time.
I'll look that up.
All right. So go to their website, take a look at that. As I say that, I want to remind everybody out there, make sure that you take a moment to say something of kindness to the next person you visit, and share your gratitude with those that you care about and trust the most, so that they understand the genuine nature of the integrity that you can bring to them and their world. Well, once again, this is KUHSdenver.com, 360 Performance, usually on a Friday, but I'm so glad I'm here on a Thursday. As we break away, you two stick with me. I'll turn down the pods here, and we'll clean out off air together in just a minute. So everybody, have a great day. See you later.